Looking back at the past 10 years, when I first saw inequality and I saw injustice, to now, I'm in Portugal, in Lisbon, working in the Lisbon Project with migrants and refugees. This is not what I thought I would be doing with my life. I was 14 the first time that I went to Guinea-Bissau with my dad. Very small country in Western Africa, very poor country. I had never seen poverty with my own eyes. Now what I've seen, I can't unsee. And so when I graduated university, I was sure, now God's gonna take me to a developing country where I'm gonna be able to use whatever I've learned and just dedicate my life to addressing the poverty that first touched my heart when I was 14. I had the experience, I had the studies, I had the right degree. It seemed like the door was opening, everything was gonna work out, all my plans and everything I had done, and the doors kept closing. Was here in Portugal when two friends approached me from church and said, Gabi, have you noticed the migrant and refugee situation in Portugal? We think that you actually should stay in Portugal and we should talk and see if there's anything that you could do. And immediately I shut down the conversation and I said, no, absolutely not. I'm sorry, I'm not staying in Portugal. Maybe speak to somebody else because it's not me. At the same time, I started meeting a few families in Portugal from Nepal, from Iraq, seeing the poverty that they were living in my city, that supposedly everybody's comfortable. Supposedly everybody has access to basic needs. And so I realized that this was something missing. I was invited to go to the GLS. John Maxwell was just finishing his session, and he was talking about a lady named Gabi, and she had intentionally decided to add value to other people's lives. He kind of looked in the camera, and as if he was looking straight into my eyes and saying,
who's going to be the next Gabi? Who's going to be the next young lady who says, I am going to intentionally add value to people every day and make my life count?
So that's where I really decided, okay, that I'm here. I want to be the next Gabi. I knew God was calling me to work with migrants and refugees in Portugal, in the city of Lisbon. I decided, okay, I'm gonna take the step. We got the space and focused on the people, trusted God for provision. Migrants, refugees, they started coming, and I didn't have a team. I didn't have anyone to provide the services. And I had to be a lawyer, I had to be a doctor, I had to be a teacher, I had to be everything that I could. I'm trying to build this by myself. So where's the people that God's gonna bring? Where are they? Because right now I'm feeling a little bit alone. And then slowly I started getting volunteers. I started getting volunteer teachers, volunteer doctors, nurses, volunteer lawyers. In less than a year, we grew so quickly. I realized I couldn't do this on my own anymore. So now we're a team of 5. Full-time with over 100 registered volunteers. We planted a church alongside the Lisbon Project, so we grew quite a lot. Having a language barrier was a huge problem to finding employment. It's how you make money, it's how you sustain yourself. People come, they don't speak Portuguese. If they don't speak Portuguese, they can't enter the job market. Mohsen is originally from Iraq, where he was in a reality of war, and he arrived in Portugal when he was about 23. He was alone. He had no parents, no family, no brothers here in Portugal. He spoke very little English at the time, so communicating was a little bit difficult. Mohsen used to be very up and down with his mood. He hadn't spoken to any of his family in a long time. He didn't see any future for himself. He would come in just completely down, completely depressed, completely sad. We have a partnership with a local grocery store chain in Portugal. We made a deal for him to work the night shift. He could work with his local team in the evenings, so he would still have to start improving his Portuguese, but at least he could start somewhere. And ever since he started working, it changed his world. He was empowered. He realized that he was building something. He was taking steps forward. And so last month, he finally got his residency card that gives him 5 years to be in Portugal, and he doesn't have to worry about papers or anything. all the Portuguese community knows about migrants and refugees is war. At the Lisbon Project, we do a lot of culture celebration. Every month we choose one of the countries that are represented in our community, and we celebrate that country. We celebrate their music, their dance, their food, showing people that these foreigners that are in our country, they're just people. And many times they have great things to add to our community. When we open our eyes to a certain injustice, it just takes willingness for God to use us. Because God is a God of justice. God is a God of leadership. If there's anything we lack, He's the provider to give it to us. When I first saw inequality and I saw injustice, this is not how I thought I was going to use my life. But this is how God wants to use me.
3 years ago, I attended the Global Leadership Summit for the very first time, where John Maxwell literally looked into the camera and called me by name. Now, I may not know your name, and I'm certainly no John Maxwell, but I have flown across the ocean to tell you that there is change waiting to happen with your name on it. And the only question you have to ask yourself is, what will I do? Not necessarily what can I do, because I have learned that the can comes after the will. The ability comes after the availability. I'm well aware that the success of the Lisbon Project is not a product of my 3-page resume or lengthy qualifications. Rather, it is a result of 22-year-old me simply saying yes. Yes to going beyond my comfort zone. Yes to going beyond the expectations that so often limit us. Yes to seeing the injustice that disturbed me as an invitation to create change. And maybe you don't have to start something new. Maybe, just maybe, there's already movement happening around you, and you just have to say yes to jumping in. You see, I may have started the Lisbon Project, but I am only standing here today before all of you, thanks to over 130 men and women who have volunteered over the past 2 years with their skills, their time, and their resources. Men and women who said yes to going beyond with me. Thanks to the Global Leadership Summit, I was able to listen to the prompting that was already shouting from within my heart. I was taken from mere sight and given a vision. And so I want to stand here today and say thank you to all those who contribute to making the Global Leadership Summit available in so many nations of the world, including Portugal. The GLS not only triggered me into action, but it has helped form the substance of my leadership ever since. It has spotlighted the power of my influence and confronted me with how I choose to use it. Today, the Lisbon Project has gone from being a crazy idea to being a well-established nonprofit organization that has assisted in the integration and protection of over 400 migrants and refugees from all over the world in the city of Lisbon. So as I return home and as we grow, we will continue to live the motto we have so often experienced. It is only impossible until it is done. And so the questions for you remain, what will you do with your influence? What will you do with the invitation to create change wherever you are, wherever you find yourself? What is your grander vision? Thank you.